Records the first. So first of all, thank you for joining into the live stream. This will be the first of many Tuesday live streams, and we'll be answering some questions on fish-related things. So if you would like to put some comments and questions in the chat, that'd be awesome. So first of all, welcome to the first Tuesday live stream. We're going to be doing these on a regular basis, and hopefully you guys will want to join in. We've got the two guests in today, the Malawi tank and the Rainbow tank. I'm currently dying from category 6 man flu, so if my voice sounds a little bit funny today, then you know why. So yeah, we've been dealing with some blackbeard algae problems in the Rainbow tank, as you guys have probably seen on previous videos, and we've been treating them with a numerous different types of products. So we've been using the CO2 boost from API and also hydrogen peroxide. So I would say, first of all, hydrogen peroxide has not been overly helpful in solving the problem. The CO2 booster, we've been using that directly injecting it onto the blackbeard algae through a pipette, which has been really useful and helpful in dealing with the problem, but I also think that it's caused some other issues in the tank. So it's been polluting the water a little bit, and we have had some fish suffer from that, mainly the rainbow. So the Bozeman eye, unfortunately, the last two that we had have passed away in the last couple of days. I'm assuming that's from either the CO2 injection that we've been doing or the CO2 booster that we've been treating the blackbeard algae with. Like I said before, if you do want to ask any questions, you can ask in the chat section just at the side there, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Obviously, it's a little bit delayed in the chats to when I can read them and see them. So if you do ask a question and it's a little bit delayed, then you know why. So first of all, both tanks have been doing really well in the last couple of weeks. The Malawi cichlid tank, we've been getting loads of baby Malawis, as you can see in the tank there. We've got tons of them guys. I think we started off with about 6 of them, and now we're on the plus side of 30, so that's been going really well, as the dual Malawis are fairly easy to spawn. Mouth brooding fish, as some of you guys may know. So we've been taking the eggs or the young fry from the females and putting them into the fluval breeder box, which you can just see that hose on the left of the screen there. And we've been putting them into there just to grow them out a little bit, and then into a little 10-gallon tank where we've been feeding them up on baby brine shrimp and Acaria first bites, and then putting them into a sort of a 10-gallon tank to breed them up, grow them up until they get to the size that you see just on the screen there. Also, the Rainbow tank progress. So I've been buying some new plants for this tank. We're looking a bit dire after the move. So some of the plants died back, especially the crypts, and some of the stem plants took a bit of a hit. Also, the Vollisneria, for some reason, we had that going really well, and that's starting to come back strong now with some blackbeard algae, which we've been trying to combat with the CO2 booster and also the CO2 injection that we've been doing on the bio CO2 from Tropica, which has worked somewhat, but obviously with some bad effects as well. With some of the fish have died off, so we've had a couple of the rams die, and also the Bozeman eye rainbows took a real big hit, and I'm not sure if that's to do with adding some of the fluval stratum as well, because that would have lowered the pH quite low, and obviously them fish like a higher pH, and it's been a bit of an issue with the plants and stuff as well. But it's coming back stronger now. We've been using the CChem root tabs, API root tabs, and also the API leaf zone, which has been a big help in getting the plants looking how they do today. So if you look on the top left screen there, you can see the Amazon saws coming back pretty strong, and also the stem plants. We've got some Ludwigia there, the pink one in the middle. That's coming back really strong. It's on its way to the top of the tank now, which is awesome, and which is it's nice to see in one of my tanks, because I really struggle with these stem plants, even the basic ones. They don't tend to do very well in my aquarium, but yeah, they're doing pretty nice. The cryptocornis on the bottom left, they're coming back quite nice now. Once we put the Seachem root tabs in, it's been doing pretty good since then. So I'll let you guys have a little look at that for a second. And if you, like I say, if you've got any chats to put in the comments, then please feel free to ask any questions. So we've been doing really well as well with the Oscar tank. So these guys have been moved from the 4-foot aquarium to 4-foot tank now, 3-foot tank, sorry. So they're doing really good. I've got them at the side of me just here. And it's basically a holding tank for now. We need to look at rehoming these guys into a bigger aquarium at some point. And also the Malawi tank. I'm going to be selling some of the fry that we've got here. So you will see this in videos up and coming. I'll probably sell off the older ones and keep the younger ones and have them growing up as a bit of a community type deal. And hopefully we can get them going pretty strong. But as a tanker in a whole, they've been doing really well. So yeah, Scott, we're running about 5 tanks at the moment, and I'm just reading the comments on my screen just above here. So Scott, we are all leads. It's about how many tanks you run now, and any plans for new fish room yet? Yes, we're running about 5 tanks at the moment, but hopefully I'm thinking about setting up a new fish room. I'm looking to get sort of a unit. That'd be awesome to get some more tanks going, and obviously I'm making some decent money breeding and selling fish, so I'd like to do that pretty soon. Hope you're well anyway. I ain't seen you for a little while, Scott, and obviously these live streams I'm hoping to do every Tuesday. Fingers crossed. I'm going to be doing about 8 o'clock every Tuesday, so that should be pretty good. I'm just going to try and pull up the comments here. Scott's also said, how are you doing, mate? Hope everything's doing okay. Yeah, we're doing all right. The new house is good. Obviously, we're a bit stuck for space. We've got the rainbow tank going in the Malawis, and also we've got a guppy breeding tank because what someone's asked me for some guppies. So I'm running that at the minute. Got the Malawis going, and also some Malawi fry, which I've been doing in the Fluval breeder box. But yeah, it's pretty good at the moment. Apart from the category 6 man flu, it's pretty decent. But yeah, so I'm hoping to do some more videos with Hygge as well. So I've just sent me out this Hygge Aqua Pro algae scraper. Now I've been asking for this for about a year, and I finally got one from them. They've been sending me out heaters and stuff, but I'm going to be doing a review on that. I've also got a bit of an aquarium light. I've been setting up just a fry tank for some rainbows. That's underneath my Oscar tank just here. So I'll be doing a bit of a review on that light. But up and coming stuff for the fish room. At the current property we live at, we don't have much space. So it's difficult to build something to house loads of fish tanks, but we will be looking at doing some sort of fish room in the near future, hopefully. And we'll be doing some more projects. But until then, it's sort of 5 tanks for now, which is unusual for me because I'm used to being so busy with them and getting some some other stock going on. We've got the Zeb Angels as well in the rainbows. So the Zebs I did the video on probably about, it must have been 6 months ago. You can probably see them there swimming around. I think there's about 11 of them guys. I wouldn't mind getting the best of the 2 out of them once they get a little bit older and doing some more angel fish breeding, because that was one thing that I never got a chance to do in the old fish room. And that's something I'd like to get into. And also some of the rainbow fish that I had, the Bozeman which suddenly died. I'm assuming from it rather the CO2 boost from API. I think I might have overdosed that a little bit when I was trying to get rid of the black-bearded algae, but the tank's coming back stronger and stronger. As you can see, it's looking really green and red, which is what we want to go for. And I've been dosing the fertilizers, and they're pretty strong, so hopefully that'll come up with some stuff. But yeah, it's doing all right. Hopefully you're well, Scott. Anyway, so it's nice to see you in the chats. Like I say, if you've got any more questions or all that, then feel free to fire them into the comment section, and I'll try and answer them as best I can. I know it's going to be a little bit quiet on this first live stream. I'm hoping to run it for an hour or so, and we'll see who comes in. But yeah, for some reason it won't let me join the chat. Try and join. I'll try and join quickly off the YouTube app just here, and hopefully it'll let me in. Jesus. So yeah, it's a little bit delayed on the comments just here. So if you do send any questions or out in the chat section, then it's probably going to be a little bit delayed to what I can see. But yeah, apart from that, they're both going fairly well. I've been adding some fluval stratum to the rainbow tank there, and I've been popping it on top of the gravel, which is unusual because usually you'd put it as a main substrate. And I think that could have been letting off a little bit of ammonia as well. I know that the fluval stratum, once it goes into the tank, can take a couple of weeks before it starts sort of degrading down into the dirt substrate that we all want for plants. Now, it's my understanding that it can let off a little bit of ammonia and nitrite while it's doing that process. And also, it's one of them substrates where it drops the pH quite dramatically. So I haven't been sort of looking at that, which I probably should have been doing. So I'm going to do some tests on it tomorrow and just see if we can figure out what's going on with that. Hopefully, we can figure out what the problem was and the cause of the fish sort of dying, which is unusual for one of my tanks. I was hoping that the plants would take over the water quality a little bit. Probably in my wrongdoing, I should have been looking at the water parameters a little bit closely to figure that out. Yeah, so Scott's just saying he's doing well. How are you getting on with your fish, Scott? Hopefully it's doing awesome. I did the brine shrimp grout, which I didn't actually, I think I only did like 2 parts of that video for the brine shrimp grout. It did really well, actually. After your advice, I was doing the spirulina powder. I did let the tank go a little bit, which really helped, actually, making, rather than doing the water changes and trying to keep up with salt water, I was sort of just giving the spirulina and just letting it go. And they seemed to boom after a couple of weeks, which were pretty nice. So, Scott's saying, I've been really busy doing a fair bit of breeding again. I'm currently got blue and gold and black rams. Nice. Yeah, so the black rams were something that I was really looking into getting. I wanted to do with the black rams. Platinum angels are also awesome. He's got some of them going, the fry, snow white plecos, peppermint dwarfs. Wow, you got some real projects going on there, man. That's going to keep you busy for a little while. Yeah, the gold rams I did a little bit of. I actually did a breeding pair of gold rams, and I ended up with a black ram for some unknown reason. But the black phantoms or the black night rams? They were pretty popular a couple of years ago when Dean and Corey McElroy were doing them on the Aquarium Corp channel. They looked pretty awesome. Platinum fry. I've had the platinum adults before, actually. But yeah, I never really got a chance to breed the angelfish just because of the space in the fish room. I would looking after the rams mainly, but they were a nice one to do. And peppermint plecos, they're pretty cool too. So yeah, you keep them busy doing all them tanks. Yeah, so the Scotch saying the Black Knights have the gold genes. Yeah, so I bred the gold. I think I did I had like maybe 10 or 15 gold rams, but I ended up with about 2 or 3 black rams as well, which were a bit of a weird one to see, to be honest. I didn't expect them to come up when I was breeding them, but yeah, they're pretty nice, pretty nice. I'd like to do the rams again. Obviously, with the rams, I've always said keep the temp up, and they just seem to do really well. I was doing the rams at like 35 degrees Celsius at one point, and they did pretty nice. So keep the temp up, feed them well, loads of brine shrimp, and you'll just breed them for fun. How many tanks have you actually got, Scott? Have you got a fish room, or is it just a load of tanks in the house sort of thing? I think so. Sorry, I'm absolutely dying here. I think this Tuesday night live stream will be a little bit slow this evening. Hopefully, we'll get a few more people in a little while. It's just a tester on this one. It's going to be the first of many to come. So I'm going to be doing live streams at around 8-9 p.m. UK time, so GMT time at this time of year. And we'll be looking at doing some of these lives, but I'm not one for doing the live streams. I prefer to do the edits and stuff, because then it's I just put the video out and everyone watches it, and then that's it, sort of thing. With the live streams, it's a bit more difficult to get everyone sort of aligned to be on the live stream at a certain time, at certain days. So Scott's saying, yeah, he's got a fish room, so that's pretty awesome. Do you do YouTube at all, Scott, or is it just you just start fancy doing the videos and stuff? I'm also looking to I'm thinking about breaking down the rainbow tank and starting again a little bit with it, but I'm not sure whether I should change the substrate. I think there's about maybe 40-50 kilos of gravel in there from a local builders merchants, and I just put that in because it was cheap at the time, but I think the plants have suffered a little bit. Now I've started with the root tabs and the fluval stratum. It seems to be picking up a little bit, which is awesome. But it's one of them things, planted aquariums and keeping the fish at the same time. It's a difficult balance to keep. But yeah, I've been sort of trying to get into that again, doing the plants and stuff with having limited space to breed. Haley's just saying she's actually sat behind me on her laptop, just here. Don't break the fish. Don't break the rainbows down. So Scott's saying no, just breed and sell help the running costs. Yeah, I get that. That's the whole reason that I did the original fish room, was to. She's laughing at me now. She's playing with a pussycat on the bed. Not in that way, by the way. Are you listening on the headset? No, she's not replying to me. Yeah, so the original reason I started to breed fish was just to help with the cost, because it costs so much money. Yeah, what? You're listening on your headphones. It's a little bit delayed from what I talk, and then she's listening later on. But yeah. More comments, super chats, let's go. We need to get more people into these live streams, because I like to do them because I can obviously talk to you guys right here and now, but I'm absolutely dying as well at the same time today with the man flu, so it's difficult to keep a conversation going at the same time as well. So if you can invite your nan, your mum, your dad to the comment section, that'd be awesome. I'm struggling to talk about things today because I've got so much to do with work as well. But the Malawi tank, like I said before, is pretty nice. We've got the ocean rock in there. We've been putting it's all neutral substrate, so there's no pH buffers or all like that in there. They've been living in sort of a 7.5 to 8 pH water, which I've been buffering up a little bit with some crushed coral. And like I said, they're breeding like crazy. You can see that they're doing really awesome. So it's not one of my things to do African cichlids. I just really fancy doing the yellow labs, and this is how we've come up with it. Hi Craig, how are we doing? Nice to see you in the chats. We're just doing a bit of a Tuesday live stream. We're going to be doing these every week, hopefully, at 8 p.m. UK time. I know that's unusual for your time. What is it, like 8 a.m. there? It's like 12 hours difference, I think, in Australia. But we're I'm absolutely dying, Craig, from man flu. I probably said it about 6 times. So my voice is a bit hoarse, and we're going to try and keep it going anyway for at least an hour. We've got Scotty here just saying, I've still got the Zebs group breeding, not breeding yet though. Are they breeding? Not got them breeding yet. So yeah, the Zeb plecos, they're a tough one, I think. I think you've got to get them up to a good age. Most people say, I'm watching Nick from Keeping Fish Simple, and he was saying that you need to keep them for like 2 or 3 years before you'll get them breeding. So and stay away from bloodworms. They're not good apparently for the Zebs. I think he actually killed a batch of about 12, 13 of them zebra plecos just by giving them bloodworms. So I'd probably stay away from them. Adult brine shrimp would be a good one, Scott. I know you're good at doing stuff like that, so probably give him a big batch of that every evening. French beans, they're really good for the plecos as well. I'm not sure if the Zebs, are into the veggies, or they're more carnivores. I'm not sure. Scott's saying they just hit 3 years old at Christmas. Wow, yeah, they should be going soon. But they'll be worth the wait once you get them going, I'm sure. If you can get a good batch of 10 or 12 of them, you'll make your money back real quick from them. I've never tried the Zebs. Plecos are not really my thing. I've tried this like standard bristle nose and stuff, but the Zebs are a little bit out of my league at the minute. I'd like to have a go at them at some point there. Maybe in the next couple of years, I'll get a couple of them. It's just an all-out cost of buying them to start the breeding, like the pairs off and stuff. It's a very expensive fish, as we all know. But yeah, what are you up to, Craig? Anyway, what are you breeding these days? How's your fish room doing? I'd like to hear about that. Scott's saying I feed mine Ebo, mussels and brine shrimp. What's Ebo, Scott? I've not heard of that one. Mussels as well, yeah. So I'm assuming that they're carnivorous, the Zebs. But Ebo, that's one that I've not heard of. Is that is it flake food? I think I might have heard of that actually. I think I've heard a couple of people speak about that. Ebo Food, yeah. Are you sponsored by them, Scott? Do they send you food out for now? I know one of the guys that were on my channel were on about a food like that. I think it was Ebo. They're from like Leeds or Manchester or somewhere. They're quite local, aren't they? Yeah, you test for them. I think I've heard. It were definitely you. I think that was speaking about them before. They're quite a local firm, I think. I think he was saying. So, Craig, what's going on in the fish room? We'd like to hear some stuff that you're getting up to. That's an awesome fish room, by the way. I don't know if you've seen him, Scott. Craig's Catfish Cave. He's from Australia. He's got an awesome channel. I've watched him numerous times at stupid o'clock in the morning. Obviously, he's from Australia, so when he's streaming and stuff, it's crazy times. I usually watch his channel just before work or really late at night. But yeah. It's nice to see you guys anyway. Nice to chat to you all. Scott's saying Ebo is a German company, but UK distribution in the Wirral, which is Liverpool, if you don't know where the Wirral is. So yeah, I've been over there a few times over the water. I have actually heard about the Ebo foods actually, but I've never actually tested them myself. I've seen them in shops actually, flake food and pellets. I think I actually saw it the first time I saw him after you'd commented about him was in Pier Aquatics when we went over to buy a small tank because my partner wanted a better fish. We ended up buying like a full setup from Pier, which were pretty awesome. Good shop as well. It's one of them shops where you can sort of buy most things from. To be fair, they're pretty good with stock and the unusual fish that you don't find in other shops. Just going to scan through the comments quickly. Hopefully we can see some stuff that we can chat about. Scotch saying also uses Dr. Basler. I've not heard of that one. That sounds American as hell. But I've not used that one either. I tend to use the My Foods in general. I use the Aquarian Flake. That seems to be a good choice for most community fish. For the Malawis, I use a lot of baby brine shrimp and spirulina stuff with flake foods, etc. for them. They tend to get most stuff that the community tank gets, to be fair. I usually give them a bit of Aquarian. I also really like the Tetra Pro stuff. So I use the Tetra Pro color for the rainbows, and then they do a Tetra Pro sort of like spirulina type of product, which I use for the Malawis. But I think it's designed for like plecos and bottom feeders, so the cories and whatever else. I think it's designed for them, but the Malawi cichlids seem to really like that. And when I feed the Malawis that, you get that sort of morning glow of them. You know, when the lights come on, the colours really come out, and the males go absolutely like berserk for it, and they get the dark black on the dorsal fins and stuff. So that seems to be a good one. If I'm doing sort of like the guppies and other smaller fish, I tend to use the brine shrimp and the Tetra, is it mini flake or something like that? And then my bigger cichlids, so the Oscars, I generally feed like this. They're right next to me, so I'll lean over. I use a Hikari cichlid gold, so this stuff in various sizes. This one this month is the medium one, but because they're such big fish, I do use the larger pellet as well. I just feed a little bit less when I use the larger pellets and stuff. But the Hikari Foods is one that I'd usually go for, but they're just so expensive at the moment. Hikari Foods are like double the price of most of the stuff that I use. So I tend to buy it in a bigger packet like these, so that I don't know what they are like. Is it 500? Oh, the 8 ounce packets, 8 ounce or 250 grams. But these are really good for the Oscar fish. Obviously, the high protein stuff, the Hikari Foods generally have better ingredients. But my main one that I go to, and the one that I use the most, is actually called Better's Choice. And that's a really small granular pellet. And I feed that to every tank. It's the highest protein food I've ever found in sort of a pellet form or dry food. I tend to use that quite often for most fish that are sort of ram-sized or bigger. And they'll go for that all day long. So going back to comments, Scott saying, I fancy setting up another rainbow tank in the living room every time I see yours. Yeah, mine I absolutely love. Like I said, it's took a real kick in that tank. I'm a bit gutted actually, because I was running the big canister filter on there, the sponge filter on there, air stones, wave makers, the whole shabam, and it's been going really well. Now I did get some blackbeard algae in there, and I tried combating that with some API CO2 booster. And what I've been doing is I've been using a pipette and like directly injecting it onto the Anubias. If you see just at the left of the screen there's a spawning mop, and then to the right of the spawning mop there's an Anubias on the rock. Now that one were pretty hard targeted with the blackbeard algae, and I've been going at that with the CO2 booster. Now I didn't realize that you could overdose the tank with this stuff, and I think I've gone a little bit too far with it. And I've also took the same plant out and sprayed it with some hydrogen peroxide that I got from Amazon, the 3% stuff. and it seems to have killed the blackbeard algae, but also polluted my tank, and it's wiped out the 2 remaining bozemanite rainbows that I really, really, really loved. We got some banded rainbows a little while ago, and that brought some infection into the tank, which wiped out 4 of the bosemanites. I managed to get that under control, and then the 2 remaining bosemanites have suffered from who knows what. I did actually put CO2 on there as well, and I dropped the air back a little bit. And I'm not sure if it were a combination of the CO2 booster and the lack of oxygen in the tank that might have wiped out some of the rainbows. Some of the Praecox rainbows took a kick in as well. I think I found about 3 of them that died, and one of only 2 of my red rainbows died as well. So unfortunately, I did the CO2 booster and the hydrogen peroxide yesterday, and then when I came down this morning, there was like 4 or 5 fish that had died overnight, which is a bit of a kick in for what I wanted to see in the tank. Obviously, the blackbeard algae died as well, which is a bonus, but the fish dying when I had such a good stock of fish in there has been a bit of a pain. I've also added in there, I picked up last weekend, I think it was the weekend before, I got 9 Congo tetras, which are in there now, and they're all doing awesome. Apart from one was blind. It only had one eye, which I didn't notice in the shop. But luckily I only bought 4 pairs, and then I got 1 free. So the one that's got 1 eye, basically I got 1 free. Scott's just saying, laughing face. Haley's put, I love having the rainbow tank in my living room. It's better than the TV, which is true. And Scott's put, I say the same about the TV. And I work for Sky. Oh no. Sky is rubbish. We're on we don't really have TV in our house. It's YouTube or Netflix or nothing really, to be fair. But it's pretty good. We need to get a fish room sorted out. That's the main objective for my fish keeping at the minute. Unfortunately, it's difficult to do many fish room videos or fish keeping videos at the moment, and you've only got a limited amount of tanks, which is making my YouTube a little bit slow at the moment. So we're used to getting like between 10 and 15,000 views a week, and now it's reeled down. I'm getting 5,000 views minimum, and it's one of them. BB is a nightmare when you get into the planted tanks. Yeah, blackbeard algae. And I think, Scott, what it was with the blackbeard algae, I think it was down to the flow. So that's why I reached out to Haiger. If you look at the right-hand side of the rainbow tank there, you can just see the blue wave maker. I've actually got one behind it as well. If you look on the back wall of the tank, you can see another wave maker at the back there. And I think the flow was too slow. And it were, because it's such a big tank, I only had the Tetra 1000 canister running on it, and I don't have a spray bar. It's just on one outlet. So I put the wave makers in there, reached out to Haiger, did a review video for them, and I've actually got the wave makers going now, and I'm hoping that'll try and at least reduce the blackbeard algae a little bit while I try and get it under control. Obviously, I'm dosing liquid fertilizers, and I've put in the API root tabs and also the CChem root tabs. And that's the other way I'm trying to combat it, by trying to get the plants to grow faster and take the nutrients out of the water. But also on the same respect to doing that, I'm adding the API leaf zone to the water column, which is obviously giving the blackbeard algae more nutrients than the tank needs. But I'm trying to just get the plants growing again. A lot of the blackbeard algae that I've got is growing on the Anubias and the Java fern. Now my thinking is, if I put more liquid fertilizer in, the Java fern, the Anubias will grow quickly or a lot faster than it is doing, and that'll help out with the blackbeard algae as well. So yeah, Scott's just saying, yeah, the dead spots will have been the issue. I totally agree, and I think what's been happening with the tank is when I've been feeding food, it's been settling on the leaves of the Anubias and Java fern, and then the nitrogen that's coming off them while it's sort of degrading in the flat spots has been feeding the blackbeard algae, and it's just been taken over. You tend to find it on the plants that have got less flow, so the lower plants in the tank. The Vallisnerias started getting it a little bit on the leaves, but I've been cutting them back. And also the ones that front the crypts and stuff have just been sort of getting it off contact. So the Cryptocorny leaves have been touching the Java Fern, the Anubias leaves, and it's been sort of transferring onto them. So the ones that I've been touching, I've been cutting them off, and hopefully that'll help with some of the issues with that. Problem is, I find with blackbeard algae, once you've sort of cut them a little bit off or knocks them around the tank, it seems to spread to other parts of the tank that didn't have it before. So places like the intake for canister filter, that's been getting it a little bit. And also like the cables that run down to the wave makers, I've noticed it on there as well. So I've been trying to sort of get the pipette down there and sort of target treat them bits, but it is what it is with it, I guess. I can't really stop it all. I don't mind a little bit of algae in the tanks. I mean, it's natural, it's going to happen anyway. I get spot algae on the glass and some diatoms now and again, but I'm trying to sort of reduce it as much as I can. That was the idea with the CO2 and the CO2 booster. But by all accounts, the CO2 booster is quite poisonous to the plants and it's to the fish, and that's been causing some issues with other things like the water quality and stuff. And obviously with the fluval stratum, that were to help the plants grow a little bit faster. But I think the fluval stratum's started to break down and cause some ammonia as well, which also doesn't help the whole situation of, I think I've made too many changes over too short of a period, and that's caused some issues in the tank as well. So we'll just have a check out in the comments. Scotch is saying, yeah, always attracts it to the slow growers first. Yeah, so I've seen it more, like I said, on the Anubias and the Java ferns, the Cryptocornys. I've been taking a bit of a hit on the Val, but the Val really doesn't like the CO2 booster, I've noticed. If you put a CO2 booster on a piece of Val leaf, it just seems to rot away and break away, and then you're sort of fishing bits out. So it really doesn't like the CO2 booster. But now I've sort of seen how bad it is to the fish. I'll be doing it in smaller doses before I do the water change. I'm going to be starting to do weekly water changes as well, because the rainbow tank's one of them tanks where I generally just top off the tank rather than trying to do massive water changes on it. But I think the big water changes will help with blackbeard algae as well. So I'll be looking into doing sort of like 50% water changes in the future. Scotch just put then, yeah, you can use liquid carbo in the syringe and squirt it directly into the areas. So yeah, I think I was doing it in a pipette, and I was sort of shooting it into where it were more heavily on the plants, into the Anubias and stuff. And I did see it changing colour over a couple of days. So once I sort of treated a certain area, I'd noticed that the blackbeard algae turned red. So that's telling me that it's dying off, with it being sort of a dark reddy brown colour when it's healthy. But I think what I did is I put too much in too little time. So I would sort of using, instead of, if say that tank needs 5 milliliters of the volume, I'll put in sort of like 10, 20 milliliters in. And I think that were affecting the fish because it were in the water column then, once it had trapped the blackbeard algae. So I'll be a bit more cautious with that in the future. Not knowing what I was doing at the time, I'll definitely be a little bit more cautious. And as for the hydrogen peroxide, I didn't see the same results. Now, I've always sort of like watched videos on YouTube if I've got an issue or I wanted to learn like the new thing. And when I was looking at the blackbeard algae problems, a lot of people were using hydrogen peroxide in a spray bottle. So I bought some hydrogen peroxide and also a spray bottle to go with it. And I was taking out, say, like the rock with the Anubias on, and then take it to sink, spraying it, leaving it a couple of minutes, seeing it fizz and bubble, and then washing off like the residue of the hydrogen peroxide. Now, I'm not sure when I put them things back if they still had quite a lot of residue on there, probably too much for the water, and then that will go into water column as well. Obviously, I know that it goes into H2O eventually, but I think it takes a number of hours before it sort of neutralizes into the water column. So I think that could have been a bit of an issue as well. Scotch was saying there, problem is with fish, they rarely eat blackbeard algae. Yeah, totally get that as well. But I have noticed as well, I've got some tetras in there. I'm not sure which ones they are. I've got some rosy barbs. They generally go for the dead algae. And I've noticed that some of the cories and just the normal standard bristlenose have been going to the dead algae. And also some of the ram's horn snails, they've been going to it as well and just sort of nibbling away. So I'm assuming they're taking care of the dead algae, but not the live stuff. My voice is breaking up a little bit. We're struggling. We'll get there though. So yeah, that's been a bit of an issue, but like I say, the Ludwigi that I've got there, the pink one, you can probably just see it. The camera's breaking up a little bit. It looks a little bit blurry on the telly just above me. But that's doing really well. So that one, I've always struggled with that plant for some reason. And this time I just decided to break open the Rockwool and just wang a Seachem root tab in there, close it back up, put it back in the pot with a weight, and I've just dropped it down the back and it's doing so good. Now, this makes me think that my substrate is not ideal for planted aquariums because I've also got some Rotala and I've done the same with that, which is just next to it, to the left of it. And that seems to be doing really well also. So I think that the substrate that I've got, because it's inert, I mean, it's like 2 or 3 years old. So I'd like to think that the waste from the fish would be in there at the moment. But I don't think it's enough to sustain the fast growth of the stem plants. So that's why I decided to do the root tabs. And for some reason, they've just absolutely blown up. That the Ludwigi that's just behind the Amazon sword there, and that was like half the size. You couldn't even see it 2 days ago, and now it's just hit that root tab. It's absolutely blown up, and it's doing really, really well. Scott's just saying I did the same, spraying it outside the tank. But I rinsed all of it. Sorry. But I rinsed and then put it in a bucket with prime fresh water and soaked it for 30 minutes. Yeah, so I think that's where I've gone wrong. I think a lot of the hydrogen peroxide was still on the plant, and that's definitely affected my water quality at some point because I've never had 5 fish die in a day overnight like that. And even when I had like 36 tanks, whatever it was very unusual for my fish to die like that. And it's just unlucky that it was the larger fish that took the kick in, especially the rainbows as well, because I absolutely love rainbow fish. And my rainbow tank's now turning into an African fish very slowly, African tank very slowly. I've got the very few rainbows in my rainbow tank now. It's more of the Congo tetras, the angelfish, loads of corridors. Now I was thinking as well why the cories didn't have any effect because they're quite sensitive, but they seem to be doing really well unless they're just hidden away. And some of the ones that have died, I just can't see. I did have a ghost knife in there as well, which I've not seen for a long time, unless it's got the best hiding spot in the world. With it being so densely sort of planted and the rocks are in cave formation, so there's like loads of bits underneath where it can hide. Every now and again I see it sort of on an evening, or if I turn the lights on when it was dark, I'd see it sort of pop out and show its face. But recently I hadn't seen it for a little while. So Scott's just saying any issues after doing that. So yeah, I think that's the way to do it. So he's saying that he sprayed the hydrogen peroxide outside the tank, which I followed that rule. Trying to get as much hydrogen peroxide on the blackbeard algae as I could, but rinsing it off and then putting in a bucket of fresh water with prime for 30 minutes. I think that's where I went wrong, because obviously that method will work better because it's got less time to more time to break down the hydrogen peroxide into the water, and the water that is using is not inside the tank. Now I'm assuming when hydrogen peroxide breaks down, it'll create some crazy ammonia. And it could have caused a pneumonia spike last night, and that's what's wiped out the fish. Also, at the same time, I'd made so many changes over a short period of time. It could have been down to oxygen levels in the tank, hydrogen peroxide breaking down in the water with the CO2 booster and the CO2 running. The bio CO2 would have dropped the oxygen, and also the lights were off. So the plants would have been creating a lot of CO2 and taking oxygen from the water column. I think a combination of all 3 or 4 could have been my downfall. With it all breaking down, could have been pneumonia spike, lack of oxygen in the water column, could have been a number of things which could have caused the problems that I've had. Like I said, I don't generally have fish that die, and to have 5 that die overnight is not something I'd usually see in my tanks. So it's just one of them, I guess. But yeah, it's been awesome to have a live stream anyway with you guys, and keep the questions coming, and we'll carry on answering them as best we can. So Scott's just saying, I think it oxidizes when it breaks down, but it might also react with CO2. Yeah, no, I totally get that as well. I think it was a combination of things. That's my overall view on what I was doing. So it does oxidize. I'm assuming that either takes oxygen out of the water, or it'll definitely give some oxygen, because that's what it does eventually. It breaks down to like water and oxygen. But I think I had my air pump turned off. For some reason, I just thought, I've got the CO2 going in, I'll turn the air stones off. I think there's too much CO2 in the tank as well. Although I didn't see any fish gasping at the top of the water column or like that. It was just, I don't know, I'm not sure. There's a million and one things that could have gone wrong, especially with adding the root tabs that could have given a bit of ammonia off. I've added some API leaf zone that could have given a bit of ammonia off. And I've added Seachem, the fluval stratum. I know that breaks down. It can give ammonia off for a couple of weeks once it's new to a tank. It could have been a number of things, I think, that created that problem. It's so strange because the tank, the rainbow tank's got that many plants in. I kind of figured that the plants would have took care of the water a little bit, or a little bit more than they did. And when I've got sort of like the Malawi tank, which has got one Anubias in there, and getting the same sort of water changes and stuff. I know the Malawi cichlids are quite harder, but I just thought, if I'm going to have any problems in the fish tanks that I've got, the Malawis and the Oscar tank here, which has got absolutely 0 plants in, would have sort of suffered, because they were getting the similar sort of water changes. So I thought that would have been the issue. Scott's just saying, have you still got the Zebs in adult angels? Yes, I've got if you look at the rainbow tank there, Scott, the Zebs are actually in there. So the baby zebras that I bred up originally, I think I had like 18 of them. Some of them I actually give to a friend of mine that I work with, and then I kept 11 of them, and they are in the rainbow tank. I'm just looking on the other screen to see if you can see them, but they are in there. They're just a little bit camouflaged at the moment. But yeah, I can just see one, I think, down the bottom right-hand side. He's just swimming around at the moment. But they are all in there, and they're all present. They're all doing really nice. Some of them are quite big, actually, now. They've grown up pretty nice. Some of them are more silver than the others, and the rest are really dark. That's probably why we can't see them on the screen. They're really dark black. So the one to the bottom right is one of the darker ones. And then I think the other ones are to the left. The camera's not actually covering the full tank. There's probably about a foot each side of the camera that you can't see. So mainly to the left. You can't see the left of the tank as much as the right. But they are sort of tottering around in there. We've got Prodigal. So how we doing? Good evening. Just found you in my suggested feed. Well, nice to see you there. Thanks for joining on the live stream. We're just talking general fish at the moment. If you're new to my channel, I used to keep a big fish room, and I used to breed a lot of fish. But we've currently moved properties, and at the moment we're in about 5 tanks. We've got the rainbow tank on the screen, the Malawi tank. We've also got some big Oscars just at the side of me, just off camera. And we've got a few other little tanks as well. So welcome to live stream. Hope you're doing well. I'm currently suffering from man flu, so my voice is a little bit off, and I've been talking for nearly an hour. So we're struggling a little bit. But yeah, welcome in. If you've got any questions on anything we've got going on at the minute, then please feel free to drop it in the chat section, and I'll try and pick up on anything that you've got going on. Scott's just saying I picked up 4 Red Devil Angels, sub-adults last week, hoping to get them breeding. When they grow out a bit, that'll be a nice one. I did the Kois for a little bit, the Koi Angels, they were really nice. I actually mixed a Koi Angel with a Platinum Angel, which they had some really strange babies, but they were quite nice. They were like Platinum with the Koi colours, which I'd never seen out like before. And they actually went to the local fish shop. One of the guys that works in the local fish store where I live, he picks up a lot of my fish that used to breed, and they generally go to the fish store in my town, and they'll go to new homes from there. So a lot of the rams that were breeding, the German blues and the golds, they all went to new homes through the fish store there, and they did pretty well, I think. So they bought more, so that's always a good sign. I did some Cories as well. I did the pandas, the peppers, Cories, and just the easy ones, really, the bronze. I love doing the panda Cories. I'd love to set up a breeding tank for them guys. Again, the panda Cories were one of my favorites. I remember sitting in the living room once with my partner and seeing my first baby panda Cory coming across the tank, and that were pretty epic. I love seeing that little dude, and that was one of the reasons why I started breeding the panda corridors, because they were just so cute when they were fry. I mean, you could get them sort of like a quarter of an inch, and they were awesome. So I managed to do quite a lot of them. Oh yeah, we did the betta fish as well. I had a betta sorority tank where I think I had like 60 betta fish at one point in one tank, and everyone was saying, "Oh, they'll kill each other and they'll be horrendous and whatever." But I had males and females living in the tank for months and months and months, and they did so well. And actually, a guy came to the fish room when they had the old fish room, and he bought the whole tank, and they're still doing really well to this day. And they're all adults now as well. They're doing really good, so real happy with them. The project I was saying, those angels are stunning. Just saw a pic of them the first time today. Yeah, they're pretty cool. I mean, I've done the Zeb angels. That were the first and only angel fish that I've bred, actually. They were ones that I've always wanted to do angel fish, and I never really had a good pair of angels that I could breed. And when I got some zebras from a local fish keeper, actually, my partner bought them for me. I thought they were both males for some reason. Then one day they spawned. I managed to get the eggs out and then hatch them out in some meth blue in a separate tank. And then I just had millions of little baby angels. I did a video actually on my channel, and they were just so cool to watch grow. You know, once you've got like an angel fish that's this big, and there's loads of them in the tank, it were awesome. I had them in like a fluval breeder box for a couple of weeks, like the 2 liter one, and they were doing pretty good for a long time. And obviously, I've got them in the rainbow tank now. I've got about, I think there's 11 or 12 of them. You can't really see them on there's just one coming into shot now. The silvery coloured one. That's probably one of the lightest actually in the tank. There's some that are really dark black with the zebra stripes on, and they're pretty cool. So I really enjoyed doing the zebra project, the angelfish project. Haley's saying about the betta fish, which we discussed a second ago. Scott's saying we still have 5 Mana Cooper. I don't know how to say that. Angels. But not got them to breed yet. Yeah, angels are really funny. So people were telling me that the angels were really easy to breed. Now I was doing, the German blue rams. I was pumping out 40, 50 of them a week at one point, and people were sort of like, they're really hard to do, and you should do the angel fish. But when I did the angel fish, I was like, geez, I couldn't get them to eat. I had about 50 fry in a tank once, and all the fry died. I was like, what the hell's going on? And it took me some time to get the angel fish going, really. And I was hatching out baby brine shrimp and absolutely bombing it in the tanks, trying to get the parents to breed and spawn. And I managed to get like a really big spawn. I think like the 5th go. They kept eating the eggs. They were just being an absolute pain. And I managed to keep the eggs going, and that's when I got the 12 that I've got now. I think in total I had 20, but I let 8 go. But they were so cute in the tank. When the baby angels are just one of them fish. It's same with the like I was saying, the pandas, panda cories. They're so nice to see when you see the little fry and they're coloured up really young. It's awesome. That's what I always found about the German blue rams. It took so long for them to get the colours. The same when I was breeding the rainbow fish as well. When I'm doing the Praecox rainbows, they took like probably about 6 months before you saw any sort of colour on them. But once you got them going, they were good to do the Praecox rainbow fish, and I really enjoyed them as well. Project Colors is saying those angels are stunning. Just saw a picture. Oh, the red devils, yeah, they're pretty cool. They are a nice one. There's loads of rare sort of color variations of the angels. Same with the rams and stuff. I've seen sort of good rams and bad rams. I like to think that my rams were some of the best I've ever seen, but I at one point I was calling mine like the super red German blue ram because they had like the really red nose, and the shops were just buying them for like sweets. They absolutely loved them, especially when I got the really good pair and they had the real red nose once it got to adult size. The shop they couldn't sell them sort of fast enough, and I sold a lot of them to them. But yeah, we had a good run with the breeding and stuff. I do miss the fish room. I wish I still had it. It was sort of like my sanctuary. It's unusual to have tanks back in the house where I can't really do the projects that I want to do anymore. It's sort of taking care of a few fish tanks, more of a hobby thing, rather than I was sort of making it into a bit of a job at one point, breeding the fish and taking a lot of care and time in building new tanks and seeing new things. You know, like when I did the cherry shrimp, I'd never done shrimp before in my life. I bought 10 cherry shrimp, and then all of a sudden, you know, you've got like 70, 80 cherry shrimp in a tank. And I did like I think it's like a paludarium thing. I made like an indoor pond with some guppies. I bought some, I think they're called German yellow guppies, and I had like a couple of them, and it just turned into a massive 20,000 guppies in a tank and cherry shrimp together, and it was pretty awesome. So that was good. So yeah, if you've got any more chats are out to go, then we'll have a look at that. Just have a quick scan down the comments here. I wouldn't mind doing the epistogrammas again. I didn't really get a chance to do them. I set up a couple of epistogramma tanks. I think I had the Cockatoides and also I think the Cockatoides super reds, are they triple reds or something like that? And the Agassizii super reds, which were actually orange. I don't know why they were called super reds, but they were really cool as well. I tried doing the little episto caves by cutting a coconut in half and then like jigsawing a little piece out, so like a doorway. But I never really got them to spawn. I think someone actually ended up buying them off me because I couldn't get them to spawn. But they were pretty nice to do. Scott's just saying, yeah, the rams are flying out at the moment, especially the black knights. Excuse me. Yeah, the black knights, I'd like to get a good pair of them, so keep in touch, Scott. I might have a couple of them off you the next time you get a good batch of them. I won't mind a pair of them black knights to have a little play with and get some spawning going on with them. And we'll have a go. But I've always got a thing for blackfish. Blackfish sort of attract my eye for some reason, but for some reason as well, the blackfish always seem to be the most violent in the tank. I've had black mollies which just ate everything. The black angels are just a pain in the ass. They attack every other angel and just eat all the plants for some reason. They just seem to be, the blackfish just seem to be the problem childs of the fish tank. And then Scott's saying, no problem, I'll sort some out. I'll keep that. I'll keep you for that, Scott. I'd like to get hold of some of them. That'd be pretty nice. I'm looking to do some more fish room tours as well, fish shop tours. Hopefully in the near future. Now it's coming into winter. I generally try and do my fish shop tours around the winter time when there's not much to do on a weekend. Sort of pack the camera up and go out to a local store or something and see what's going on. There's a couple of shops in Manchester that I've been looking at doing. There's a new guy on YouTube. I can't remember his name now. I totally forgotten his name, but he's opened a store somewhere in, I think it's like Oldham area or maybe sort of North Manchester. And he's doing really well on YouTube, and also his shop. It looks amazing. Like he's done a real nice job of his shop. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but it looks a good place to go. I'm thinking about giving him a ring and seeing if we can do a bit of a review there and have a gander around, and hopefully get on to maybe do a live stream with him or something like that in the near future. But it's just making contact with these people. I did Nautilus. They got in touch with me to go and do a fish shop tour. One of the owner's daughter actually got in touch with me on Instagram to do a shop tour there. That were a good video for me to record and to check out their shop, Nautilus in Sheffield or Wakefield, I think it was. Great shop, and obviously the staff were amazing. And I actually got offered to go when it was closed and do a bit of a walk around tour with the owner's daughter, and she was going to show us around the shop. And I never really sort of went back to her on that. I should have probably gone back and done a bit of a shop tour with her to get another video out on YouTube. Also, Pier Aquatics, I've done that a few times, but I've never done a shop tour on it. And I could do with getting all the owners there to do a bit of a tour around and see what they're up to. That's just always been a good shop for me for the weird and wonderful fish. So they've always got like Mabu puffers in there and piranhas and all sorts of weird stuff that you wouldn't see in a normal sort of bread and butter shop where they're selling guppies and rainbows and platies and mollies and stuff. They've always seemed to have the random fishing, the ones that you don't usually see. Scott, I tried Abyss at Stockport. That's a good shop that I actually went randomly. I had a day off work. I took all my sort of recording gear, but I bottled it at last minute. I didn't end up doing a tour. I was going to sort of record on Sly. There's far too many staff there to be whipping cameras out and trying to record. I don't think they would have minded, but there were quite a few. I think I hit it on like a Friday morning or something, and there were quite a few customers in. And I generally find if the shop's busy, they don't like you filming too much when there's customers around. And now I totally understand that, like if there's people buying stuff and doing whatever. But yeah, I don't think they would have appreciated me pulling the camera out. Yeah, the Ermstrom Aquatics. I think that's the one with the youngish lad. Has he just recently opened a shop there? He's got a YouTube channel as well, I think. There's a couple of guys that I know on YouTube actually that have been over there. Big Fish Lad's been there, I think. He's done a review there. I know a couple of shops that I've been to. I've sort of followed Big Fish. Yeah, Spud, I think he's called. Yeah. I'd like to go and do a review at there. That'd be a good tour, that I think. But Big Fish Lad, I've followed him a few times. I've been like a couple of weeks behind him on shop tours and stuff like that. And they always say, "Oh yeah, we had Big Fish Lad last week, and now it's Horizon Fish Keeping." So I've been to a few where we've done the same video at the same time and released it pretty much the same week, which is obviously a problem for both of us because most people have seen it on Big Fish Lad's channel, and then I've released it as well, which is a bit of a pain in the ass for both of us. Project Girl's just saying, must be nice getting that soft water you have up there. I've got liquid rock coming out of my tap in southwest London. Yeah, it's because where I live in Yorkshire, I live in West Yorkshire in Huddersfield, so like it's quite a small town. Obviously, Scott's from Leeds. We've got water that comes through the peat moss hills, so by the time it's filtered down through the peat moss and hit our reservoirs, it's like 6.5 pH. But we all sort of, I love rainbow fish, so I'd prefer to have the liquid rock water. Then we always want what we haven't got, I guess. So the guys that get the hard water want our water, and the ones that have got the soft water want the hard water. But it generally turns out that way because I mean we all have to buffer as water one way or the other, I guess. when we keep. I mean, I've got the 2 Oscars here, which I absolutely love my water here, the 6.5. The Malawi fish, not so much. I've got to sort of put coral and stuff in my filters and try and buffer that up. I think the Malawi tank's running about, it's just under 8 pH, so I think it's like 7.8, 7.9. But I have to put the crushed coral through the filters to get it up to that. I can't really do like a 50% water change on that tank because it'll just drop the pH too sort of fast. Manchester Fins, I think that's the one that I'm on about. Manchester Fins. Scott's also saying, yeah, pH is about 6.6 out of the tap. Mine's a bit weird. It's like sometimes I'll get 6.2, and then sometimes like 6.8. It's generally somewhere around there, 6.5, something like that. And then Project Girls are saying 7.6 from the tap here. Crazy KH and GH and 38 parts per million. That's crazy nitrate out the tap. You must be able to grow plants well. I mean, if you drop the pH on that parts per million for nitrate, that's good plant water. Obviously, I mean, if I were running that sort of pH, I'd probably just put fluval stratum in every tank that I've got, because the fluval stratum would just drop the pH a little bit. You can use other things as well. But yeah, fluval stratum in every tank, that'd bring your pH down to probably 7, maybe a little bit below. And then the KH and GH would be good for shrimp, I guess, breeding, and plants. But it's not a great starting point, not unless you're keeping sort of like guppies, mollies, platies. They all like the harder water. And also like rainbow fish are good in that kind of water, I guess. Malawis, go for Malawis. Scott's saying, I'll show next to the Pennines. I'm sure next to the Pennines. Are you from Shaw? Right, fair enough. That's really close to my house. Really close to my house, Shaw. Project L saying Anubias and Ritala do great. And I cut that arrow. Yeah, cut it with arrow and tap water. I don't bother with the ferts. No, fair enough. I guess you don't need ferts with baseline nitrate like that. How are we doing, NY Gold? Nice to see you there. Thanks for dropping in. Just having a bit of a chilled live stream this evening. I'm going to be doing live streams every Tuesday night, around 8, 9 p.m., depending on what I'm doing with work. But I will be posting this one. I sort of dropped on it. I only give about 2 hours notice. But I'm going to be obviously planning it a little bit better. So after this live stream, I will schedule a live stream for next Tuesday evening. I'll probably go for about 9 p.m. That'll just give you people from the States and around the world a bit more chance to jump in on the live and have a look at what's going on in the fish tanks. Yeah, so Project L, I mean, I really struggle with Ritala. I'm not sure if that's down to the pH of my tanks, because the pH has been really low. I'm not sure if the Ritala struggles, but like I say, the Ritala and Ludwigi that I've got in there at the minute, I've just sort of put the root tab in the little basket that they come in. You know, when you buy them from the shops and they come in a little pot with the rock wool. I've just sort of separated it, threw a root tab in the middle, and then put it back together in the pot and dropped it down the back. And for some reason, it's just gone off like really strong, which I'm really happy about, because I've never been able to grow stem plants in my tanks at all, ever. And like I say, probably because of the low pH, maybe in the clarity of our water in Yorkshire, it's pretty much stripped down to bare zero. There's barely any sort of like nitrates in there, or there's basically no chlorine or anything. I barely put any sort of like water dechlorinator in at all in my tanks these days. I used to put loads of it, gallons of it in, but like you say, when it's oxidizing in the water, I think that was causing me a lot of issues as well. So, but yeah, it's the planted tank, the rainbow tank at the minute's doing really nice. I'm happy with what's going on. The blackbeard algae has been a bit of an issue, like I said before. I do get a bit of a spot algae going on and stuff like that, but generally the algae is down to a minimum, even with the ferts going in. I've been using the API leaf zone as the liquid ferts, and then the CChem. I find the CChem root tabs better than the API root tabs, to be honest. I've been using API root tabs for a number of years and not had much success with them. I've tried the Osmocote as well, but I just can't get on with the little capsules when you put them in the substrate and the capsule dissolves. The little balls of Osmocote seem to come to the top of the substrate, and it just drives me nuts. Like when I'm siphoning out, trying to pick out the little balls of Osmocote and stuff. So I don't really do the capsule type root tabs anymore. I tend to go for the ones that are in the solid tablet type. But yeah, it's going pretty nice. I've seen the val sort of dropping back, and I'm not sure if that's because of the disturbance of moving house, or if it's just because I've relocated them a little bit to the back of the tank. So I've sort of pulled them out and moved them back, and sort of moved them around a little bit, and I think that's caused them to die a little bit. So Scott's just saying, what happened to all your tanks from the fish room? Have you stored them and moved on? I had a paddy, Scott, with my tanks, and I threw them all in the tip. I basically had a day when we were moving house, and I filled my car to the top with tanks. I wish I hadn't have done now, especially my paludarium. Or what, I can't remember if it's a paludarium or not. I took it to the tip and just threw it in the skip. And I felt better for about 10 seconds, but now I'm thinking about doing other projects. I wish I'd kept them in a way, but in a way I don't as well, because whatever I do in the future is going to be a fresh start. And I wish when I'd done the fish room originally, I should have done auto water change. I wish I'd done a linear piston air pump around the ceiling, and some of the tanks as well. I wish I'd got the bigger ones, 4 foot or sort of 40 breeders, minimum size 40 breeders. I wish I'd done that, because a lot of the tanks that I had were really small. So when I'm trying to grow out fish and stuff like that, I used to struggle once I get to like juvenile stage. I was bombing loads of food and trying to grow them up for the shops, and I didn't have enough room for the fish that were in there. So that became an issue once I was trying to grow out the fish. But I wish I'd kept some of them that I think that I probably wouldn't be able to get again. The paludarium were one. The 4 foot tanks that were really narrow. They were only like a foot wide front to back, and it were 2 foot tall by 5 foot long. I wish I kept that one. But the house that I've come to now is a really old property, and there's not much room here for storage. So I wouldn't been able to keep them anywhere but outside, and I think they would have algaed up, and the silicon would have probably perished. So whatever we do in the future, I think I'm going to buy new tanks. It's the ones when I set up the first fish room, I was buying sort of tanks off of Facebook Marketplace or pre-owned tanks. I think when I do my new setup or whatever, if I do a new setup in the future, I'd like to buy all brand new tanks. So I know I've got like a bit of time, because we had a bit of an issue with the Oscars. The silicon had gone on one of the tanks, and it was leaking one day. I was in the garden, I could hear like running water from the fish room, and I'm like, oh, that shouldn't be happening. So I ended up going into fish room, and it was like water sprinkling out of the bottom seal. So I don't really want that happening again. So new tanks in the future, linear piston air pump and auto water change are definitely on the cards for the next time I do a fish room. It's going to be a bigger and better fish room with more exotic fish. I would think. I think I'd still do the rams. The microcichlids I'd definitely get into again. I love the epistogrammas. I love like the microcichlids in general. Are all pretty cool. I'm not too keen on the crebensis, just because it breeds so easily. I prefer the challenge of the rams, the epistogrammas, all that sort of stuff. I'd like to do again. I'd like to get into the live bearers a little bit, but it's a bit too common. You know, like I've got this thing at the minute for these Mickey Mouse platters. I'm obsessed with them. I want to get some of them. I need to get some of them. So I know they breed like crazy, and they're really easy to breed and keep. But I just love. I was stood in the fish shop the other day with my partner, and there was just a big group of bright orange Mickey Mouse platters. And I just looked across the fish room, across the fish store, and I could just see them all in this one tank, and you could barely see the other fish around in the other tanks. They just stood out to me. They looked awesome. So I'd like to get into some of them. That'd be pretty nice. I've gone back to basics a little bit actually, like the the Congo tetras, the rosy barbs. I've got some bleeding out tetras. The yellow labs, really easy to keep. The fish that I'm keeping at the minute are all fairly simple to keep and easy to keep and breed and stuff. But it's quite nice just to not have to do the crazy water changes with the rams and the massive temperatures and looking after the eggs and trying to hatch them out in methylene blue. It's been nice to have a bit of a step back and then sort of reevaluate, but sort of relook at the hobby again and see what's going on. There's some fish that I'd like to keep. The Congo, is it Congo puffers? I really like them. I'd like to get a tank of them going at some point. For some reason, I'm obsessed with the Arandas as well, the Aranda goldfish. I wouldn't mind having a go at breeding them. I know the cold water, and it's not sort of our scene, but I'd love to have a blast at them as well. Scotch is saying, yeah, I've got the air loop, but no auto water change. Drilling tanks worries me. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And that's the reason I didn't actually do the auto water change. I were all set up for it. And where I was working at the time, I was working with one of my friends who was a plumber, and he was saying, oh, yeah, it's so simple to set up all this stuff. And I'm going to use like irrigation tubes for hydroponics. I set up a tap outside, and I had it pretty much set up regarding utilities. So I had somewhere for it to go, and I had somewhere a way of getting it in. But I never actually plumbed the whole thing up and set it up in the old fish room. So I didn't actually set the whole thing up. But keeping that many tanks at once, I mean, I've got one of the big Eheim pumps with the the clear tube where you drop it in the tank and it pumps the water in and out. And like today, I was doing the rainbow fish tank. You just drop the Eheim pump in, that pumps it to the sink, and then I just switch them around and put the hook on the tank. And then usually I've got like a big bucket that I fill it with water and water dechlorinator and pump it back to the tank. It's fairly easy to do, and that's the way I've been doing it all through the fish room before, and how I'm doing my tank still now. But just the idea of being able to turn a valve and it does the auto water change just seems so much easier, because you're not dripping water all over your wife's floor and stuff like that. It makes more sense. Scotch is saying there, yeah, I've got the air loop. Oh yeah, so I've already seen that, and yeah, that's what we're talking about, the drilling tanks. So I will look at drilling tanks. I am a floor and wall tiler. That's my job, and also my business that I earn. I drill through porcelain and ceramic tiles on a daily basis. That's what I do as my day job, and I'm pretty confident at drilling through them, through the tiles. But when it comes to glass, it's like half the thickness. I just think if you shatter a tank, it's like a couple of £100 down drain. Whereas if you drill through a tile and it shatters, it's like a couple of quid. It's a different story. But what I should have done is kept some of the old tanks from a fish room before as just a test, and just drilled loads of holes in one of the tanks just to get used to doing it. I've got all the diamond bits and stuff that I use for work, so it's very similar going from the glass to the ceramic and porcelain. So I think I should have had a good go. Maybe one of the 10mm thick glasses I should have gone through and just had a bit of a go at drilling through them and just seeing if it does smash or not. Right, guys, I think I'm going to leave the live stream here. But thank you very much for all joining in. It's been awesome to talk to you all. Hopefully you guys will be on the next live stream. Like I said, it'll be on Tuesday evening between 8 and 9 p.m. I will schedule it a couple of days before, so you guys have got some notice rather than dropping it on you 2 hours before I'm going to do a live stream. So thank you all for jumping on the live stream. Hope you have an awesome week, and I will see you next Tuesday. Peace out. That good. Did you watch it all? What's the matter? It's still live. We're still live.